Well, welcome back, everyone. This is video two, part two of our emotional wellness series. I'm really excited to bring Patricia into the conversation. As mentioned in part one, we are really talking about emotional wellness and distinguishing burnout, compassion fatigue, and vicarious trauma. Patricia is with Wellness in Action, which is a project of CERI, which is the Center for Empowering Refugees and Immigrants in Oakland. So to start off, and I want to mention that more about Wellness in Action will be talked about later, and roping it into, again, how we became partners in the work, connecting through nature perspectives on mental wellness. So without further ado, Patricia, please come into this conversation. I'd like to invite you. And first off, knowing that I did part one, any details or clarification you could say and bring to the conversation at this point?
Yeah. Hi, Raynelle. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this video and giving me an opportunity to talk to your community and to the people that are connected to you through your work and through nature. So yes, I think you did a really good job explaining and differentiating the different levels of that I guess frontline workers can be impacted in the work that they're doing. And I wanted to add a few things. So the first is that we all of us in the healing work, in the organizing work, in the different movements, and as frontline workers in health, we're called to do that work because we experience compassion satisfaction, right? Like we're called to it because we like to be in service of others, in support of others, others' growth. And it's natural in that process of providing care to others to become tired and to become exhausted. And compassion fatigue is it's part of the ebb and flow of our work life as caregivers and as being people in the front lines. Even if we have good care practices, we can become tired of giving, and especially in environments and in situations where our compassion it's really called for. And some of the signs of that compassion fatigue can be changes into, we can become dispirited, maybe even a little bit bitter. And that's where sometimes compassion fatigue gets confused with burnout. Compassion fatigue has been used in the literature as a occupational, I guess it's an occupational term, specifically for frontline workers, healthcare, mental health, outreach workers, so people who are kind of in that field. And burnout can be used, across the board for any other profession. And burnout is very much connected in the work world, is connected to job dissatisfaction. Compassion fatigue can lead to burnout and job dissatisfaction, but it's really like a gradual erosion of the things that keep us connected to others in our caregiving role. Our ability for empathy, for to have hope for others, not only for others, but for ourselves. And then moving on to burnout, sometimes I guess the as I said, the difference with burnout, it's physical and emotional exhaustion that comes with low job satisfaction, and is very much connected to feelings of powerlessness. So how much control you have over your work schedule, things like that. But it's not an exhaustion of compassion, right? Like you can be burnt out from your job, but still have, be able to take care of your family at home. Whereas compassion fatigue kind of affects you across the board in your ability to be compassionate towards others, including your family members who, are usually the first ones to suffer when we are experiencing that kind of fatigue. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Great, thank you. Yeah, and the connection that we have as partners in the work, I do the healing hikes, and you all supported me in implementing a compassion fatigue healing hike, which was amazing. And knowing that, our bodies can hold these emotions or the fatigue was just such a powerful experience to see mental health providers there feeling what it feels like to release that fatigue. So even just finishing that hike was like the feeling of being lighter, and walking in nature was just so profound. So that just really supported this knowing that we have about how important nature and understanding our nature of how we move about, as well as knowing how nature can provide the healing space and the knowledge of how cycles go, and moving through different phases of our experiences, a model for us in nature.
Yes, I wanted to add to that definitely, um, when we did that compassion fatigue hike, it it is very possible that people have also their own traumas, so they've experienced their own traumas that can get triggered. So it could all get kind of packed, where you're kind of experiencing your own trauma, your own difficulties, your own past trauma, intergenerational trauma, but you're also tired of giving and giving to others. So all of those things can be present and can be um, healed in the space of a nature hike like the one that you led.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. And we did cover a little bit of vicarious trauma, and just really emphasizing that it's a dramatic shift in our world view. And not to go more into detail about, because it's just such a huge trauma, is like too much to contain in a conversation, but I think just emphasizing that, knowing that there's a point where it could become such a huge shift was important, also for me to understand as a provider. And I really valued the fact that, like, you kind of sat me down and talked through a lot of that. So I want to emphasize that that's important in partnerships, especially for practitioners like me who don't have that path directly into mental health, but are also maybe indirectly working there. And that it also just really birthed the trying out how to really bring a nature perspective into this industry. So we did do a nature-based perspectives on mental health. So just wanted to mention that we have continued some of that work in understanding nature as it relates to our emotional wellness. I really want to move more into also, like, part one, I was doing that video as the pandemic, like we were in the midst of the pandemic. Now, this recording is happening in June, where, I think we're on day 6 of the Black Lives Black Lives Matter movement, really taking a front seat to our nation's shift. And considering all of this is happening, what are you seeing as a provider happening in the communities that you are working with?
Yeah, thank you. I think that the what I'm seeing and hearing from my colleagues is definitely a reactivation of trauma. So many of the communities that we work with, refugee communities, immigrant communities, and communities of color, witnessing uh, first of all, witnessing the killing of George Floyd and many others in um, in recent months, a couple of or three other people brutally killed either by the hands of police or white supremacists. It can reactivate those experiences of helplessness. So one important thing when we talk about trauma is the experience of an event or a series of events where our lives and well-being or the well-being of those close to us feel threatened. So we are watching the wellness and the life of human beings threatened. And when we have experienced that in the past and we re-witness that or witness that again and again, our trauma gets flares up and gets triggered. So in trauma, when we're in trauma and we are re-experiencing trauma, is as if things that happened to us in the past are happening right now. Right? So we kind of start getting memories of experiences. So, I've heard people who, for example, whose parents grew up in the Philippines during martial law and dictatorship. I'm from Colombia, so where we had curfews and violence. So memories of that. I have colleagues from Morocco who have shared their experiences in Palestine. So all of our experiences where authoritarianism is, oppression is present, all our memories of that will come up. And for some of us, it comes up stronger than others. So most definitely trauma is very present in our times right now for all of our communities, and obviously most importantly for our Black brothers and sisters.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. So that's just one question I want to ask is, if we're having listeners here who are now discovering, I may need support. How can maybe what are the do you have any suggestions of like the very first steps if this emotional wellness is like super new, or like breaking into receiving support is something new to someone? What could be like the first steps that they could take?
Yeah, so some of the important things is to start to notice what are your current reactions, right? Like to what's going on. So are you finding yourself really angry and irritable, or are you isolating yourself and disconnecting yourself from friends and family? Are you experiencing insomnia, or the opposite, hypersomnia, where you're just like really sleepy all the time? Things can be manifesting as physical symptoms, so headaches or, body ailments, gastrointestinal issues. So first, kind of take note of what's happening right now, and note that all of this is coming at in the middle of already 2 or 3 months of a shelter in place and forced kind of self-isolation. So we're already coming into this current events with our depleted, with our reserves somewhat depleted, especially if you, like I am, in the front lines. You're already kind of coming into this tired and exhausted. So that's kind of like the first place. Kind of take an inventory of what's coming up for you and where are you at with everything that's happening. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I just want to thank you for spending some time and for the partnership and working and just like enhancing a lot of the work that I do as a coach, not necessarily being a licensed therapist or mental health practitioner, but as a coach. Really love that Wellness in Action is very supportive of community-based practitioners, and also recognizing traditional healers and those working directly with their communities in their traditional medicine. So very, very fortunate to be here in Oakland and to do that work, and to also include a lot of what as what I see nature being such an important and powerful tool for the work that we're doing, especially in these times. And I just also want to mention, you know, the other thing that is really helping me is to know we are actually moving change today as we speak, that those of us going on actually in the front lines and marching, we are seeing change in our leaders. So I think that's really also worth it, in that when we think about these things, that the harm that we know of the systemic oppression, we can also see that we have the power and resilience to move the nation through into a different world. So I just want to end by allowing Patricia, whatever you would like to know, how can people know about the work you do, and maybe follow Wellness in Action, and if you have anything coming up that you want us to know about.
Yeah, thank you, Raynelle. So yeah, definitely reach out to those practitioners in your community who can offer you solace and support, to all of those healers and therapists who are practicing culturally relevant practices to assist you, to help you move from those traumatic states into coming back into your full force. Yeah, so Wellness in Action, we are a workforce development program, as Raynelle said, and we work with immigrant and refugee communities and communities of color in general to increase the workforce and to increase the presence of people of color in the mental health field, so that we can incorporate into the mental health practices more culturally relevant practices. And that's why we collaborate with healers and herbal medicine practitioners and other people, so that there can be more dialogue and communication between a Western mental health perspective and worldview with the way that other communities address their wellness needs. And as a workforce development program, we have trainings on an ongoing basis. And we also have, on a yearly basis, we provide mentorship and technical assistance and support, training and support to community leaders who are interested in conducting a community-based support group. And this is specifically for people from refugee and immigrant communities. So you can be a mental health practitioner in training, or a grassroots community leader who has been already leading work in the community, and you're interested in kind of honing in your skills on how to facilitate community support groups. So we start in September, so we have an open call that opens around mid-July for people interested in our mini grant, where we do provide a stipend and, in addition, support and training for this. If you are interested in learning more about our mini grants and our programs, feel free to email us. We have a community wellness in action @gmail.com, and we can add you to our mailing list so that you can learn more about that mini grant opportunity. And if you're not interested in the mini grant opportunity, we do have also arts and wellness. We call them arts and wellness events. That's where Raynelle and I collaborated initially to provide things like healing hikes or decolonizing wellness trainings and workshops, sound healing. So we bring different artists and different kinds of practitioners to provide services. So, but please email us, communitywellnessinaction@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that I leave a lot of those links or email in the description. So information about all of that will be found there. Again, I'm Raynelle. I have Reno Consulting Solutions. You can also find me on Instagram at Hike It Out Coaching to see what we do. I have had to pivot my healing hikes into virtual healing hikes. So those may be available for you to experience throughout the summer. I do have a few trainings coming up that I'll be launching in the summertime. So keep in touch there, and I'll leave my links as well if you want to find out more information about what I have going on. So thank you again. Hit up Wellness in Action, get the work done. We really need our caretakers, our healers, our therapists, all of them. We all need to come together right now in this moment. And we really hope that just the resources also get flooded into those communities. As we'll see, we'll be coming home into the streets at some point, and needing to provide, if not already provide, support for those who are doing the work on the grounds. Until next time, I really appreciate this talk, Patricia, and look forward to just continuing the work.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Raynelle. And yeah, please, everyone, take care of yourselves in these difficult times.
Yes, thank you.